Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is so good to have you guys here. For those of you who are coming back to watch my videos again, thank you so much, and I really do appreciate your support. For those of you that are watching my videos for the first time, welcome to my channel. Feel at home. My name is Nancy, a registered nurse from Kenya, and I'm currently working as an ITU nurse in one of the hospitals in London. So in this channel, I like to talk about my experiences as an overseas nurse working here in the UK. I also do some lifestyle videos about beauty, hair, and also travel videos whenever I have the chance to travel. So welcome. Feel free to comment, ask questions, like and share my videos with all your friends because it's gonna help this channel to grow a lot more. Today, I am going to be talking about how you can change from one employer to the other, and this is specifically for overseas nurses who are in this country under the Tier 2 visa. It can be a complicated process because there are so many things you have to change, like your COS, your visa. Lots of changes are involved, and I would like to talk about them in this video. So it is quite a long process. It can be quite complicated. So I have divided this into two parts, what I like to call the planning stage and the implementation stage, like in the care plan. So today we'll be talking about the planning part, or the things that you have to consider if you're planning or if you're thinking of changing from one employer to another. So let's get straight into the video. So mid last year, I changed from my old employer, which was a nursing home, to work in the NHS. And that was something that I had been thinking about for some time. I started attending some events that would happen in London. There were nursing events, things like Careers Live, conferences, just some free trainings for nurses. I would just go there and I wanted to talk to people, mainly because I wanted to understand what other chances were out there. I had always had a passion to work in ICU, adult ICU, and I wanted to specialize or do the critical care course, and I did apply for that in the university. Unfortunately, in this country, you cannot do the critical care course if you haven't had some experiences working in ICU, because there are some competencies that you have to be signed off. Once I realized that, then I decided I was going to start looking for a job in ICU. And I knew I wanted a big hospital. I wanted a hospital that would give me a chance to learn all that I can, a hospital that would support me when I wanted to go back to do the critical care course. So one day I was attending a Careers Live event in London, and I was just talking to the people from the hospital that I work in. I just wanted to know what they were offering, how it is to work in their place, and they were actually very prepared. They had it all laid out. First month you do this, first 3 months you start doing this program, and then you will have, by 6 months you will have done this, and then you can apply for all the course, and things like that. So I told them I actually want to join the NHS. I want to work in an ICU, and they said, oh, that's great, we're looking for people. Do you want to do an interview? And I said, yes, I would love to come and do the interview. So just give me the date that you guys are doing the interview and I will show up. And they said, oh no, we want you to do the interview now. And I was like, no? I was not prepared. I had not prepared myself that I was even going to do an interview. And they said, you don't have to worry, just the way you're talking to us, we'll do it like we're having some type of discussion. And guys, I did the interview right there and then. They just took me downstairs. In the Careers Live, they usually set some rooms for interviews for people who would like to do job interviews on that day. I didn't know that, and they took me there. So it was 2 of them and me, and they conducted an interview, which thanks to God I actually passed. So that's how I got my job, and that was sometime in October, I think. Yeah, October like 2019. For me, it took me a long time. There were things that I should have prepared a long time ago before starting the whole process, and I didn't, and those delayed my process even more. And that's why today I am here to tell you some of the things that you should consider, some of the things that you should start preparing in advance. So number 1, look at your current contract. Alright, because when you come to this country, most of us come under the contract that we are going to work for 3 years for our employers, but in that contract they put in different things. So for instance, when I moved here, my employer paid my flight, they helped me with a loan to pay the deposit for my first month, they paid for my OSCE exam, which at that time was like 990 pounds I think, and then they also paid for my flight from London to Northern Ireland to do the OSCE exam. They paid for my hotel stay there, they paid for a lot of things, and some of these things we would sign and say that I'm going to pay these things back in 2 years. If I leave the company before ends, then I have to pay back this amount of money. So you have to be very, very careful with that, because in this country they are very, very strict with rules. You need to go by your contract. So when you're looking at your contract, the things that you need to look at are, do you need to pay back any money if you're leaving before the amount of time your contract states? For example, if it states 3 years and you're leaving at 2 years, you need to pay them the money that they gave you. For me, I think my contract was saying that if I leave before 2 years are over, then I need to pay back the 990 for my OSCE exam. If I leave and I haven't finished paying off the loan which they gave me to pay for the deposit of my first accommodation, then I need to pay back all the money, or they'll deduct it from my final pay. Things like that. You also need to look at the resignation notice that you need to give. For me, I had to give them a 2 months notice before leaving. So just be sure, check from the beginning, and in your mind you will have it. I need to give them a 1 month notice, I need to give them a 2 months notice. If I leave before these 3 years, I need to pay them this amount of money. So look at your contract, guys. Just read it through. If you don't understand anything, just go to the office and ask someone to explain it. So another thing that you will need to have is a DBS. DBS is one of the documents that your new employer is going to be asking for, and as a nurse you're going to need the enhanced kind of DBS. You can always apply for DBS by yourself, but when it comes to the enhanced one, only employers or specific people can apply that for you. So your new employer can apply for your DBS, but if you're in a hurry to change jobs, because I've come across people who really hate their current place and they just want, maybe they're being mistreated or something and they just want to get out of there, they don't have the months that it's gonna take for them to wait for this DBS to be processed. So what I would advise, if you've been here for more than 6 months and you apply to work in an agency, the agency can actually apply for your enhanced kind of DBS, and then when you get your DBS, you can always register for the update service, and the update service for DBS is where you pay, I think, 13 or 14 pounds every year. And then if someone needs to have a look at your DBS, you just give them the number and they go and have a look at it. Or if you're watching this video and you haven't come to the UK yet, when your employer does your DBS, make sure you register immediately for the online service. I didn't know that when I came here, because when they applied for our DBS and we got our DBS, that form, I was thinking, what is this? And I just shoved it with my other documents. If I knew at that point, I would have registered for like the update service, and then I wouldn't have had to suffer, because for me, guys, my DBS took a long time. So my new employer applied for my DBS, and I waited for 1 month, nothing. 2 months, nothing. There's somewhere that you check online if your DBS has come back, but mine, it just kept saying not yet, not yet. Like 2.5 months in, nothing. And I was just sitting and thinking to myself, did I commit a crime at some point and then I forgot? Maybe that's why it's taking so long. So I would call my new employer, the HR, and I would keep saying, have you guys had my DBS? What's the problem? I even called the police station because they told me to call a certain center because they were the ones who had not like given me a clearance. And I was asking that guy, why are you guys delaying my DBS? I haven't committed any crime since I came to this country. I've been very, very good. So if you want to avoid all that waiting time, if you're in a hurry, then I would suggest you apply to just some agency, even if you're not going to do the shifts, and you get your DBS and register it. Or like I said, when you come to this country and they do your first DBS for you, register it for update services. So DBS number 2, make sure you have it, or at least think about how you're going to get it quicker. Then number 3 is money. This is a costly process, to be honest, and it becomes expensive because obviously you're going to have to pay for your visa. During my time, I also had to pay for the immigration health surcharge, which was like 1,200. I asked my current employer, to pay for it because I was thinking they were going to do it, and they said, I'm sorry, we cannot do that for you. Then for my visa, because I had waited for so long and I really wanted to just move and start a new job, I had to pay for priority package. So I paid, I think, 900, and then I also had to use a lot of money because I had to give deposit for my new accommodation in London. So you actually need to have a lot of money saved up. So if you're thinking of changing your employer and it's going to be in a different location, I suggest you start thinking about saving money for relocation. So be prepared about money, do a rough estimate, and if you don't have it, then start saving up for it. Another thing that you need to think about, number 4, is your employer. Now you're there and you're thinking, I need to change my job. So where are you going? You need to start thinking which area you want to work. Do you want to go to a nursing home? Do you want to go to the hospital? Is it private? But I think it's so much easier when you're already in the UK to look for a job because there are thousands of jobs and thousands of nursing jobs out there. So all you have to do is choose. But as you're choosing your employer, please make sure that your employer is able to apply for a COS, because not all the employers are given the right to sponsor visas. You as an overseas nurse under tier 2 visa, if you haven't been here for like 5 years, then you're definitely going to need an employer who is able to sponsor your visa. So that's one thing that you should ask them. And another thing, I've had some employers, like when I told you, number 1, you need to look at your contract and see how much money you need to pay back to your employer if you need to. Then some employers are very good and they actually offer to pay like your debt to your previous employer. So always ask, you never know, and you might be lucky they will pay for. Another thing that you need to start thinking is the notices that you're going to be giving. And by notices, I don't mean in your workplace. I mean if you live alone like I was doing, obviously you have a lot of bills that you pay. You have like council tax, you have your electricity bill, you have water and things like that. And if you don't give them notices by the time you're leaving, they will continue to charge you, and it's gonna bring a lot of problems. So I suggest you just have like a small list. I love lists. You need a small list where you write who you need to notify that you're leaving. So on your last day, like for example, if it's like power, you just read the meter and email them and tell them, by the time I'm leaving, this is the meter reading. So they just charge you for whatever you've used and not whatever someone else has used. And you also need to be giving notice for your accommodation if you're moving out. So another thing that you obviously need to consider is new accommodation. If you're like me and you're moving from one part of the city to another one, then you definitely need to start considering about accommodation. If you have kids, you will need to think about the proximity to kids' school, kids' activities. You need to arrange for house viewings. So just give yourself time. You can even start in advance. It's very easy nowadays. You can do online. There are virtual tours and things like that. So you can do most of these things online, which is nice. The last thing that you need to start thinking about is references. So your new employer will obviously be asking you for references. Obviously, you're gonna start with your current employer, and they will need references from people who you worked for previously, maybe in your country. It's good to always tell them a certain hospital is going to ask for your reference, just so they are ready, and you don't have to like call them every time asking them, they sent you a reference, can you just do it and send it over. It's good if they know, or if they're expecting someone to ask them about a reference, so when they get it, they just do it and send it, and that will also avoid other unnecessary delays. Alright guys, so I think that's the end of this part 1 of the planning part, and in the next video I'm going to be talking now about implementing the process, how you go from interviews to applying for all those other things that you need to change. I hope this has been helpful. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.